Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Right now, there's just this massive cultural attention building around the new Netflix documentary, The Crash, which drops on May 15th, 2026. Literally millions of people are about to be introduced to the completely devastating Mackenzie Shirilla case. But digging through the source material, what we found is that Netflix is really only giving you part of the story.
Okay, let's dive into this. As the saying goes, Netflix tells you what happened, but we cover what came after. In this explainer, we're going to explore the definitive and frankly tragic aftermath that got left completely out of the film. We're going to break down those final legal battles, the harsh reality of prison life, and the totally immovable dates that are going to define everyone's future.
Section 1. The Fatal 2022 Crash. July 31st, 2022, Strongsville, Ohio. Just to neutrally set the scene here, it's about 4 a.m. in a quiet business park. A Toyota Camry basically slams straight into a brick wall at the end of a dead-end road. The driver was 17-year-old Mackenzie Shirilla. In the car with her were her 20-year-old boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and their 19-year-old mutual friend, Davion Flanagan. Tragically, Russo and Flanagan were pronounced dead right at the scene. Shirilla survived.
Now, investigators extracted some really stark, absolutely undisputed physical data directly from the vehicle's event data recorder, which is essentially the car's black box, as well as the business park's surveillance cameras. And the numbers are chilling. The vehicle was traveling at exactly 100 miles per hour at impact. The accelerator pressed to 100%. There was literally zero evidence of braking, and the video itself showed a deliberate, completely straight trajectory right toward that wall.
Section 2. The Hell on Wheels Verdict. A bench trial decides the crucial question of intent. Following her arrest, Shirilla was charged as an adult with 12 felony counts, including murder. Her defense team made a highly strategic choice here. They opted for a bench trial, meaning no jury. Just a single judge alone would decide the crucial question of intent. You see this sometimes in highly emotional, high-profile cases where the defense hopes a judge will evaluate the physical evidence a bit more dispassionately than a jury influenced by public sentiment.
Inside the courtroom, we essentially saw two completely warring narratives. On one side, the prosecution's theory. They argued this was a deliberate, premeditated murder motivated by a really volatile relationship conflict between Shirilla and Russo. But on the flip side, the defense's argument. They claimed this was a tragic, accidental loss of control because Shirilla was impaired by drugs. Investigators actually found psilocybin mushrooms in the car. So it all came down to intent. Did she purposely drive into that wall, or was it just an awful accident?
Well, the person who had to answer that question was Judge Nancy Margaret Russo, and her conclusion was absolute. In August 2023, she found Shirilla guilty on all counts, stating, and I quote, "She planned and perfectly executed the crash. She is hell on wheels." The judge basically found that the stark physical data, the 100% acceleration, absolutely no braking, was just completely incompatible with an accidental loss of control. And with those devastating words, she sentenced Shirilla to 2 concurrent life sentences, meaning she serves them both at the exact same time.
Section 3. Appeals filed 1 day late. A procedural error permanently closes the door. Obviously, following the conviction, Shirilla's legal team fought back. However, in September 2024, an appeals court upheld the conviction. Then, in April 2025, the Ohio Supreme Court declined to even hear the case. Undeterred, her legal team geared up and prepared a second major appeal.
1. I just want you to take a second and let that single number sink in. The crucial point here is that this second appeal was dismissed by Judge Russo in March 2026 for one mind-blowing reason. It was filed exactly 1 day late, literally just 24 hours past the deadline.
You might be wondering, why does that procedural error matter so much? Well, an appeal filed 1 day late has absolutely no legal standing whatsoever. The court literally has no jurisdiction to hear it. By missing that tiny 24-hour window, whatever arguments or new evidence Shirilla's legal team believed they had were rendered permanently irrelevant. Every single legal door available to challenge the conviction was slammed shut. Those 2 concurrent life sentences, absolutely finalized.
Section 4. The Families and Prison Life. Dueling realities in the aftermath of the trial. Cut to 2026. Mackenzie Shirilla is now 20 years old. She sits inside a medium-security facility called the Ohio Reformatory for Women. And outside those prison walls, you have 2 sets of families forced to live with completely different realities in the aftermath of the trial.
We're seeing these dueling realities play out very publicly. The Shirilla family, in a 2025 interview, fiercely maintained her complete innocence. Her father, Steve Shirilla, publicly begged for just one piece of evidence proving intent, stating he struggles daily with the grief for the young men who died, right alongside the sheer relief that his daughters survived. But on the other side, we have the victims' families. For Dominic and Davion's families, the conviction and the subsequent failed appeals represent the legal system rightly and repeatedly affirming that this was murder, providing a measure of true justice for their sons.
Section 5. The 2037 Parole Reality. The one date that defines the future. Because regardless of those deeply felt, completely opposite perspectives, there is an immovable timeline ahead for everyone involved.
Tracing this timeline is pretty sobering. 2022 was the fatal crash, 2023 brought the guilty verdict and the life sentences, 2026 saw the final appeal dismissed over a missed deadline, and that strict progression leads us straight to September 2037. That will be Mackenzie Shirilla's very first parole hearing. She'll be 32 years old. And to be crystal clear, there is absolutely no guarantee of release. It is simply the earliest possible point she can legally ask the Ohio Parole Board for her freedom.
So, as millions of new viewers prepare to watch the documentary, to debate the crash data, and to argue over the verdict online, we are kind of left to ponder this. Does a bench trial's legal conclusion of intent represent the ultimate moral truth of what happened that night? The legal system has answered this question permanently, closing every single door on the case. But the debate, it seems, will absolutely go on. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this helped structure the facts behind the headlines.